Energy-efficient products will be our focus this week on Dateline Abuja, especially refrigerants that have high global warming potentials. In Nigeria, for example, our air conditioners do not meet the international standards for environmentally friendly cooling systems. Ozone-depleting substances, they're called, and it makes up 40% of household electricity costs. Reducing emissions from cooling before the Standards Organization of Nigeria begins implementing the minimum energy performance standards will be the crux of our conversation tonight on Dateline Abuja with the National Coordinator of the Nigeria Sustainable Cooling Project. This is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. Let's begin with the major stories this week from Nigeria's presidency.
President Bola Tinubu has commissioned the newly rehabilitated International Conference Center, which has been named after him. Speaking after the commissioning, the president said the conference center is a part of the country's larger vision to become a hub for regional diplomacy, continental trade discussions, and global partnerships. The president also directed all ministries, departments, and agencies to pay for the use of the facility to ensure its upkeep and long-term sustainability. President Bola Tinubu says his administration will continue to serve Nigerians regardless of politics and dissenting voices of naysayers. The president stated this while commissioning the N16 road, which connects Maitama and Katampi districts in the nation's capital. During the occasion, President Tinubu also extended a hand of fellowship to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory to join his party, the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC.
We have somebody in Houston Wike. He's not a member of my party. Not yet. But the day he changes his mind and registered with Progressive, we welcome him because we will enjoy him in singing. As they pain us, it is sweet us.
President Bola Tinubu has firmly squashed speculations that Nigeria is heading towards a one-party state. He stated this in his Democracy Day address before a joint session of the National Assembly to make a personal and public pledge to uphold the nation's multi-party democracy, while opening the doors to members of other political parties seeking to join the APC, welcoming particularly new members from Delta and Akwa Ibom states. President Tinubu bluntly advised other parties to address internal issues rather than project their fears. Rekindling memories while reflecting on his struggle for democracy, President Tinubu in his address took a moment to strengthen the records.
At no time in the past, nor any instance in the present, and at no future junction, shall I view the notion of one-party state as good for Nigeria. Look at my political history. In year 2003, when the then governing party tried to sweep the nation clean of political opposition through plot and manipulation, I was the last progressive governor standing in my region.
This drew a rousing chant from the audience, but the president wasn't done yet as he took a pointed swipe at the opposition.
I will not say try your best to put your house in order. I will not help you to do so either. It is indeed a pleasure to witness you in such a disarray.
In a significant move on Nigeria's 26 years of democratic rule, President Tinubu conferred posthumous honors, including Kudirat Abiola, environmental activist Ken Saro-Wiwa, and 8 other members of the Ogoni 9.
Welcome back. Since we were put into bans by the power sector, a lot of us have become a little bit more conscious of the energy we use, rotating between deep freezers and fridges, turning the lights off, the debate on whether hot or cold water is best for the skin when you remember how much electricity the water heater takes. Energy-saving bulbs. It's been a process. But the one thing many people aren't sure of how to handle is the issue of air conditioners. Thankfully, the rains are here and it's a bit cooler, but it can get really toasty here in Abuja. Well, my guest is Mr. Etiosa Uyigwe, the national coordinator of the Nigeria Sustainable Cooling Project, something the UN has been doing here for a while. And he says, in addition to monitoring our energy use, we have the option of energy-efficient products that are cheaper, he says, and good for the environment. And he says changes have to start now before the Standards Organization of Nigeria begins enforcing their minimum energy performance standards in 2026. Mr. Uyigwe, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you so much. Yeah, nice to meet you.
So let's talk about this. This is part of the UN environmental program.
Yes.
Let's understand it first of all. What is this agency about?
Yeah, the UN Environment Program is the UN organ that promotes environmental sustainability. We have projects all across different parts of the world, not just in Nigeria. Yes, but I will talk more on the project we do here in Nigeria because I'm the one coordinating the project here in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the program in Nigeria, what's it focused on?
Yes, it focuses on what we call, let me explain, energy efficiency.
Okay.
Let me first of all tell you what energy efficiency is all about. Then I go straight to go through what the project is all about. Energy efficiency actually means spending less energy to do a particular work or to do a particular service. Okay. I will explain with a simple example. You can, if you want to light up your room.
Yes.
Initially, we had this what we call this yellow bulb, we call it incandescent bulbs.
Yes.
Some of them were for 100 watts, 200 watts, some 50 watts. But today we have better technology that will give you the same luminosity or even better luminosity, but you spend less energy. So, for example, we have the LED, light emitting diodes, bulbs in the market, in the Nigeria market. Some of them go for 5 watts, 10 watts. So when you spend less energy to do a particular service, that is, you are being efficient in that. So instead of using
lesser gas emissions.
Yeah, of course. It has a multiplier effect.
Yes.
Yes. You know. So what you are doing, you are saving. For example, instead of lighting your room before with 100 watts, you now do just 10 watts.
Yes.
You save about 90 watts. You know. So if you do it at a large scale, a lot of people do that. You are saving a lot of energy. You know.
Does it cost me less?
Yes, of course, it costs you less.
So wait,
yes.
Because we have to be circumspect here.
Yes.
I've been, of course, a lot of us use energy-saving bulbs now.
Yes.
It's a thing.
That's what we're encouraging.
But we don't want it to be a fad. When it comes to my units, do I spend less on energy-saving bulbs than I would do on those yellow bulbs?
Exactly, that's what we're saying. Yes, beyond the benefit to you as an individual, it also has a benefit nationally.
Yes.
So when you spend, because what we are generating currently in Nigeria is very small compared to the population. It's grossly inadequate for the population. But when we do more of when we go into efficiency, you save, the others save, millions of people save, is going to have reduce our demand, electricity demand. Of course, it will optimize our grid systems. You know,
one of the questions people have had with this particular program is, well, asking us to save energy. Meanwhile, we have energy scarcity.
Yes.
So that's usually what the issue is. So you're asking people to be more circumspect when they use energy.
Yeah, that's what we're
But then we have a lot of people who don't even have energy here.
Yeah.
And then, if I'm correct, there are burdens put on us, right? There are treaties we've signed and agreements that we've signed to reduce our gas emissions. What gas emissions? The people who give the most gas emissions are the developed world, and we have energy scarcity over here. Why is everyone looking at us?
Yeah,
they should leave us alone.
Yeah, but
what do you think about that?
Let me tell you something. We all share the same atmosphere. So every emission that comes whether from gas power station or diesel power station goes into the atmosphere, irrespective of the country you come from. And we've seen over the years the concentration of CO2, carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it keeps increasing, you know. So you see, the thing is that you ask there are so many issues we need to look at here. You said some people say we don't have enough of those energy.
It's not us that are spoiling the ozone layer.
Yeah.
The people that are
We
smoking,
are also-
go and focus on them.
No, we are also contributing. So
How?
that, you see, we are talking about collective efforts now. You know, yes, the advanced countries are the culprits in terms of emission, the emission of some of these greenhouse gases. But you see, like I said, we share the same atmosphere. We have to have, our effort has to be collective, you know. So while they are also trying to reduce, we on our, or even if we have not reached their own emission level, we also have to reduce because we all share the same atmosphere. And the impact is going to fall on everybody.
Okay.
And not that, you see, they have more capability or ability to adapt than us. We don't have much of it because of the economic situation here. We don't have much of this adaptive ability. When I talk about adaptation now, how to cope with the changes. They have more. They have because they have the finances.
And the climate change
Yes,
impact.
yeah, impact, climate change impact. So yes, like I said, it's a collective effort. We have to reduce. They have to reduce. So we don't need to wait for them to get to their own level. So we also try to do whatever we can do now to reduce.
So based on this program, we're trying to now get Nigerians to use more energy saving.
Yes.
But there are things that I wonder about when it comes to energy saving. It's easy to tell me to buy energy saving bulbs. I wouldn't probably notice the difference as long as it can give me the ambience I want. But there are bigger issues: air conditioners, deep freezers. Those are some of the major things that we spend our electricity
I agree with you.
on.
I agree
How
with
do we have power saving air conditioners?
Okay.
Is this a possibility?
Yes, a possibility. In fact, let me go to the project now.
Okay.
The title of our project is Scaling Up Energy Efficient and Climate Friendly Cooling in Nigeria. Well, of course, we also align it with Nigeria NDC, the Nationally Determined Contribution of Nigeria. Now, the main objective of that project is to accelerate the use of energy efficient air conditioners. Okay? Part of our strategy to do that is we are introducing what we call minimum energy performance standard. We are working with the Energy Commission of Nigeria and the Standards Organization of Nigeria on this project, you know. So we have to work with the government to come up with what we call minimum energy performance standards. What do I mean by that? For every product that comes into the market, in terms of energy usage, it should be regulated. Not just allowing any product to come into the market and the energy consumption of that product is not regulated. So we have to set a standard on that. You know, that's part of all the support we are giving to the government on this project. You know, we have been able to do that. We were very strategic. We're very empirical in our approach. You know, we went to the market first of all, look at the air conditioners in the market. We collected samples, about 150 samples. You know, we took samples for about 150 air conditioners. We collected data from there. We did a lot of analysis. Now, to measure the energy efficiency of air conditioners, we have two metrics. We use two metrics. The first one, what we call the seasonal energy efficiency ratio. Then the second one is the energy efficiency ratio. The first standard that Nigeria did in 2017, the first minimum energy performance standards that Nigeria did in 2017, we use the ERO, energy efficiency ratio, because it's a very simple calculation. The energy to calculate that ERO is the cooling capacity of that AC over the input power. So it gives you the ERO, very simple calculation, but it has to be taken at 35 degrees Celsius. But the seasonal energy efficiency, which is the second matrix, is a more accurate matrix because that one takes into consideration the fluctuation, the seasonal fluctuation in temperature. But the other one only takes the ERO only studied the efficiency at a particular temperature, that's 35 degrees Celsius. You know, so what we have done in the standard is we set the standards. They are there for different types of AC we have in the market. Then, secondly, we're also introducing what we call energy labels in that standards. Every product that comes into the market should have what we call the energy label. It's properly, attached or whatever, stuck to the appliances. What does the energy label, what is supposed to do? Now, before you buy any product, you should be able to know the energy consumption of that product. Okay, because if you know the energy consumption, you know how much you're going to spend on it. If you're going to use it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, you know. So you know, so the label will tell you how efficient it is. We don't have that yet, but once the enforcement of that standards the enforcement of the standard will start in 2026. The reason is that we have to give the manufacturers enough time to adjust to the of course, it takes a lot of.
These are Nigerian manufacturers?
Yeah, both Nigerian manufacturers are those that will be imported into the country. So the standard covers for all of them.
We have to go on a short break because when we come back, we have to look at this very critically.
Okay.
One of the things that people will ask you is what's going to happen to the ACs that we have right now.
Okay.
Welcome back to Dateline Abuja. If you've just joined us, we're talking energy sufficiency. In a world where we have energy scarcity, especially in places like Nigeria, Mr. Uyigwe is here with us. Thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Thank you so much.
All right. We've understood it. The Standards Organization of Nigeria is going to start implementing this from next year, isn't it?
Yes, from 2026, yes.
That's next year.
Yes, this year, yes.
In 1 year, you're expecting manufacturers to be able to comply with these energy outputs that you're going to put on their products in 1 year?
Yeah, you see, the standard making process, is a process. And of course, in the process of developing standard, you have to bring in all these stakeholders. Even the manufacturers, they were there. So they requested for it.
Okay.
Yeah, they requested for the time.
So you think they can do it?
Yes, well, if they have requested for that, they should be able to do it.
What's
yes.
going to happen to the already existing air conditioners?
Yeah, of course, we use the word phase out.
They're going to be phased out.
Phased out,
in
yes.
a year?
Yeah. No, not in a year, no. Of course, it's take a lot of time. Okay. The air conditioners can last up to 10, 15 years.
Yes.
So all the products that are already in the market using the conventional compressors will still remain in the market, but with time they're going to be phased out. So once we have the standard will regulate what comes into the market. So the new ones that complies or meet the new standard will keep coming into the market, while those ones will stop coming to the market. So over the years, the old ones will phase out naturally from the market. So that's the idea of it.
So whatever air conditioner you're going to be replacing or buying from next year will be in tandem with the energy standards.
Exactly. It's a mandatory standard.
I've always wanted to find out what happens to things like that when we throw them away, when we phase out these air conditioners. Is that not also a climate change issue?
Yes,
where do we deposit them, and how do we ensure that they're not adding to the problem that we're talking about here?
Yeah, I like that question. Yes. So what do we do with the used ones, the ones that has reached their lifespan? Yes, we have another project that is coming up. It has started, but it has started technically started here. So that other project will be handling this, what you're talking about now. What happens to the
phased out
ones?
Air conditioners?
Yes. And again, the country also has the EPRO, what we call the EPRO law, Extended Producer Responsibility Law policy. So where there's a process where they collect these products, recycle some, those that are recyclable, and some of them that are not recyclable. Yeah, of course, recycling. I think most of the parts can be recycled in an air conditioner. So there's already a process on that by the government. The government already have that process on ground. Yeah.
Just so you can give us an idea of what you're talking about here when it comes to the kind of energy that is being expended with the ACs that we have right now. Yeah. Somebody once told me that the air conditioner in my house will not be allowed in places like France or places like Norway. That if this air conditioner was found in somebody's house, that person will be sanctioned. They will have to look for the manufacturer, and you might actually have to face the law for breaking energy-saving codes. Is that true?
Yeah, well, many countries in Europe, they've already done their minimum energy performance standards. So Nigeria is just coming up, following suit.
It's called MEP, isn't it?
MEPs, yes.
Yes,
minimum
MEPs.
energy performance standards, yes.
Okay.
So for them, if it's a mandatory standard, once the product doesn't meet those standards, they cannot enter the country. So the same thing we are trying to do here in Nigeria. We have to set this minimum energy performance standard for air conditioners, so that when you are bringing products from outside the country, your standards, the technical specification of those equipment must comply with our standard. Otherwise, it cannot come into the country.
What of generating sets?
Well, our project doesn't cover that. So
your project only covers air conditioners?
Air conditioners, yes, for now.
Which project is looking at generating sets? Because that's a very big problem. In many places where they are not on band A, we do bands here. in places where they're not on band aid, they have to deal with lack of electricity, and most of the time, many of them are using generators. You know, sometimes when we look at these environmental friendly processes and programs, they seem laudable, but it does feel like our reality here is a little different for these projects that may look good on paper. I mean, if you're trying to talk to people about phasing out air conditioners, you're talking to big people that have air conditioners. A lot of people, they don't have air conditioners. The biggest problem, if we're looking at what they may be doing to hurt the planet, maybe these are, what are those generators called? I better pass my neighbor. I better pass my neighbor generators. Some have upgraded, but you know, it's the generating sets. You go to neighborhoods in this country, it is for hours.
Yeah.
So while you're busy trying to get people to phase out AC, some people have to deal with the fact that they don't even have energy at all and are hurting people more by using generators. How do you balance this out with the work that you do?
Yeah, well, what we do is trying to introduce energy efficient air conditioners into the market and accelerate the adoption of these air conditioners or the usage of these air conditioners. Of course, for example, many of the very efficient air conditioners now is the air conditioners that have what variable speed, or what you call inverter air conditioners. Okay. They have variable speed compressors. Yeah, you know. Sometimes with smaller generators, you can see that you can power many of these inverter generators compared to the conventional one that are fixed speed compressors. You know, so
but are they more expensive?
Yeah, of course they are more expensive.
So they're more expensive than the old compressor.
Okay, let me explain
air conditioners that we're using.
Let me explain this.
Okay.
Yeah, they're actually not more expensive.
They're not.
No, they are not. I will explain that to you now. Now there's what we call the LCC. In other words, if you calculate you are talking about we are saying more expensive. You are looking at the upfront cost of buying it.
Yes.
Okay, the upfront cost of buying the product. Of course, the upfront cost is higher compared to the other conventional compressor. I mean, air conditioners. But if you calculate the cost of buying that air conditioners and the cost of maintaining it within the lifespan of that air conditioners, you will notice that you are going to spend less on the more efficient one than the less efficient one. I will explain that. The money you use in buying the air conditioners and what you pay the utilities to service it for, let's say, for the last, let's say, 10 years. You know, if you do that calculation, you're going to notice that the more efficient one was far cheaper. You're going to spend far less than if you buy the least efficient ones and you calculate the cost.
So it may be more expensive upfront for the cost.
It's just the upfront
but
cost
when it comes to the maintenance over the years, it is cheaper
That's
to maintain than the
We
other.
call it the life cycle cost analysis.
I see.
The life cycle cost analysis. So
how much cheaper?
Well, I can't give you a figure now.
How much cheaper?
But it's cheaper. It's cheaper.
Does these new, as we wrap up, these new energy efficient air conditioners that we're trying to bring into the Nigerian market, do they cost me less when it comes to my units?
Yes, we are not trying to bring it to the market. We are just supporting the government to regulate.
Yes, of
to
course.
Regulate the market,
when that regulation happens, and these new types, because they're going to be new to us, aren't they?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Because we're not used to those type of compressors.
Well, they're already in the market, interestingly.
They're already in the market?
Yeah, they're already in the market, interestingly.
Are they going to cost me less electricity than the old compressor?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what we're explaining that. That's why I call it life cycle cost analysis. It's cheaper. When you do the life cycle cost analysis, it's cheaper. You are going to see that, yes, of course, the upfront cost is higher.
No, I'm not talking about the cost of the air conditioner now.
Yes.
I'm talking about my units.
That's what
if you run a regular compressor AC, even if it's 1 horsepower throughout the night, you're looking at about 7 to 10 units going throughout the night. So with these new ones, are they going to
spend less? Yes, exactly what we are saying that. Okay. So with the new one, you're going to spend less on electricity bill. Of course, it will have a positive impact on your pocket, and of course, nationally, it also helps to optimize our grid system here nationally.
All right, well, in closing, just so that people can understand what's going on and why they should buy into what you're selling.
Yes, well, first of all, encouraging people to go efficient. Of course, if you have positive impact on you in terms of your spend less on electricity bill, and like I said, if you also look at be patriotic nationally, you know, the energy you save somewhere, you save here, it made available to somebody else. Yes, we keep talking about we don't have enough, but if we save, more people will have access to electricity.
I want to thank you very much for being with us on Dateline Abuja.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And good luck with all the work you have ahead of you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks to my guest and to everyone who spoke to us today on the program. Being energy sufficient is the way to go, and we should try to adapt to that as the world continues to evolve. Remember to let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screens. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Magwa. See you next time.